So I have my paints all laid out. So yeah, what I was saying earlier about keeping them in the freezer, they will stay fresh for quite a while because of the cold and because it'll be an airtight container. So it'll probably stay fresh for maybe even 2 weeks or so. Alright, we're going to add one more thing to the palette, which is my medium. Get the NYOP here. A little shake. Put a nice sized dollop right there. So let's go over the placement of my colors. So really the palette is arranged basically from dark to light, but more importantly the idea behind this arrangement is from translucent to opaque. The idea behind that is that lighter colors should be painted thicker and more opaque. Darker passages in your painting should be painted thinner and more translucent. The reason why you'd want to paint your lights thicker and more opaque is because the thicker and more opaque the paint is on the panel, the more light is reflected from the light source back to the eyes of the viewer, which draws more attention to that area and makes it feel like it's shining and luminous and three-dimensional. Whereas you want your darks, your shadows in your painting to reflect as little light as possible back to the viewer's eyes so that they recede and become more mysterious. So these colors over here on the left, very translucent, then they start to get a little more opaque. The umbers can really go either direction. Depending on how you paint them, they can either be opaque or translucent. Then when you get into the yellows, it's more and more opaque, and white is very opaque. But really the order that I've laid them out isn't that important. What matters most is that you're very consistent so that you eventually, it just becomes instinctual. You know exactly where the colors you want are. So without even thinking, you're just reaching for the exact right color that you want to mix. So just try to stay consistent, have some method behind it. And you'll notice I have nice big globs of paint there. I recommend putting on more paint than you think you'll be able to use in that sitting, just because the tendency when you start to run out of a color is to start to become stingy while you're painting, to conserve it, which is no good. You want to be able to paint as thick as you need to paint. And also if you completely run out, the instinct, it's just laziness I think, is to start using other colors to compensate instead of stopping to get out your paint and add more paint. So just start out with more paint than what you're going to use, and don't worry about wasting it because you're going to put the leftovers in a Tupperware in the freezer. So that takes care of that. You'll also notice that I have kind of a warm and cool version of some of these colors. So the phthalo and ultramarine. Phthalo is closer to yellow, has more yellow in it, and the ultramarine is closer to red. So I put phthalo first after black because go around here, it's closer to the yellow, and the ultramarine over here next to the red because it's closer to red. Also, when you mix ultramarine with alizarin crimson, which is right next to it, you can get some really good purples. So I got two reds, alizarin crimson and the cad red medium. Alizarin crimson has more blue in it, closer to blue, so that's the cooler version, and the cad red medium is the warmer version. You've got your orange and then two umbers. Got the burnt umber, which is warmer, redder, so it's closer to the reds over here, and the raw umber, which is cooler, and then yellow ochre, and then 2 yellows, cad yellow medium, which is a bit warmer, it's closer to the reds here, and the cad lemon, which is cooler. So first, before we start painting, we want to make sure we have a toned panel. You want to cover up the white because if you painted straight on this, it would be very difficult to judge your values. So I will show you how I tone a panel. So to tone it, I'm going to take some of my umber here, a little bit of medium, and either umber, either raw umber or burnt umber, it's great for toning a panel, depending on how warm you want the tone to be. And often I'll pre-tone a selection so I can choose at the moment what's more appropriate for the painting. And sometimes I'll do different colors, some blue in there or green. Or if you want really warm, you can do some burnt sienna, something like that. And you can either leave it brushy like that, or what I like to do sometimes is take some paper towel, just wipe it down a little bit. And you want to do this ahead of time so that it has time to dry, so that while you're painting you won't be fighting any of that wet color underneath while you're laying things out. So then you set that aside and let it dry for at least a day before using it. Alright, here is our pear. I'm going to show you my method for just painting a single piece of fruit, and that will apply to much more complicated and larger paintings. First, I'll show you and demonstrate to you what the use of the medium is for.